The Fast and Furious franchise has survived the test of time for almost 20 years now. The first film was released in 2001, and the latest film, Hobbs and Shaw, was released in 2019. But a huge, ever-evolving cast and impossibly fast cars mean that a lot of little things in the film can easily fly right over our heads. These things include references to other franchises like Avengers and Star Wars, and the return of some of the characters' favorite vehicles throughout the series, and cool but quick celeb cameos. Let's check out some of our favorite moments in the Fast films that even superfans might have missed. After Paul Walker's passing in 2013, Universal decided to retire the character of Brian O'Connor after his appearance in Furious 7. The film used CGI to replace Walker in certain scenes, but the character was completely absent in The Fate of the Furious. But Paul Walker's memory lives on, so the film decided to pay homage to the character in another way. Throughout the Fast and Furious films, O'Connor had a tendency to drive blue vehicles. For example, his 2002 Nissan Skyline GTR R34, the 2012 Nissan GTR R35 Ben Sopra, and his Chrysler Town & Country. His favorite color scheme was kept alive by having Scott Eastwood's character drive a blue Subaru BRZ in The Fate of the Furious, demonstrating Walker's undeniable importance to the franchise. The Fast films like to depict the return of many characters' favorite vehicles, even if they've been destroyed. For example, Dominic Toretto's 1970s Charger. The Charger appeared in several of the films before it was destroyed near the end of Furious 7. It was absolutely wrecked beyond repair, but that didn't stop Dom from getting an almost identical replacement in The Fate of the Furious. Dom's Ice Charger looks to be just an upgraded version of his classic vehicle. The Charger is now armored and souped up, but it's undeniably the same model and very similarly designed as Dom's favorite vehicle. It's hard to remember moments of foreshadowing during the first watch of a film, but it's always cool when you pick up little hints on a second watch. One such moment happens in Furious 7. When Brian O'Connor is buckling his son into the back of his car, the baby throws a toy car out of the vehicle. Brian jokingly says, "Cars don't fly." It seems like just a joke shared with his kid, but it ends up meaning much more later on in the film. After the team travels to Abu Dhabi, Dom decides to drive a Lykan Hypersport in between two skyscrapers. Brian then repeats the line, "Cars don't fly." Starring in a movie can give an actor a chance to promote or pay tribute to some of their other work. In the case of Dwayne Johnson, fans of the athlete-turned-actor might have noticed that when Luke Hobbs is in the hospital in Furious 7, he's watching something interesting on TV before he sees the breaking news report that makes him realize that Dom and the team need his help. Hobbs is actually watching a football game, and it's not just any game. It's a game between the University of Miami and Florida State from 1993, a game that The Rock actually played in. Before acting, Johnson had a short football career with Miami as a defensive linesman. In Furious 7, he can actually be seen sacking Charlie Ward in the game. But the clip only lasts a few seconds, so we're sure a lot of fans could have easily missed this one. Dwayne Johnson's career makes a few other appearances in the Fast films. In one case, he's seen leading a haka dance as he coaches his daughter's soccer team. The dance is an important aspect of Johnson's culture as the actor is Samoan, but it's also a reference to his role in the animated film Moana. Though The Rock may seem like a tough guy, he has a soft side that's led him to take on roles like the Disney films. It's cool that he's been able to connect such different films together with moments like this one. The characters Tego Leo and Rico Santos only had big roles in the 2011 film Fast 5 as a pair of street racers from the Dominican Republic who are members of Dom and Letty's crew. Both characters are later briefly mentioned in Fast and Furious 6, but they also made a quick appearance in later films. It's very possible that you might have missed their cameo in The Fate of the Furious. Both characters are briefly seen in New York City aiding Dom, but if you blink, you'll miss the moment. It's always cool when a director or writer decides to reference other franchises in their film. This happens a few times throughout the Fast films, including a moment with actor Sung Kang. Kang has appeared as Han in 4 of the 8 Fast and Furious films, as well as in archive footage in Furious 7. Han's full name isn't stated very often in the films, but some computer screens in Furious 7 reveal that his last name is Soel-O. This is a clever little nod to Han Solo in the Star Wars films, played by Harrison Ford. Ford gets another small reference when Deckard Shaw ends Han's life in the franchise, because the name of Harrison Ford's character in Blade Runner is actually Rick Deckard. Might be a coincidence, but we suspect there are a few Harrison Ford fans of the Fast and Furious team. Star Wars isn't the only mega successful franchise the Fast films reference. The MCU's Avengers films are actually mentioned a couple of times in Fast and Furious 6. The first reference comes at the beginning of the film when Roman Pierce complains about working for Hobbs, saying, "So now we work for the Hulk?" Another character calls Hobbs Captain America, and when Hobbs calls Tej Parker, Hobbs' name in Tej's phone is Samoan Thor. It's pretty funny that the film chose Hobbs as the receiver of all these jokes, because Johnson is actually joining the DC universe as Black Adam. How can you have an insane action series without referencing Nicolas Cage a couple of times? One scene in The Fate of the Furious seems to have been pulled directly from the Nicolas Cage film Face Off. The scene comes when Shaw saves Dom's baby on the plane. Shaw puts headphones on the child, cranks the volume up, and then begins kicking behind to kick them out. The same action is depicted in Face Off with Castor Troy. If The Rock can reference his football career and other film roles in the Fast films, then can't the other actors self-promote a little too? Well, they definitely have, as is the case with Chris Ludacris Bridges. Ludacris first appeared in Too Fast, Too Furious as Tej, and returned for Fast 5, Fast and Furious 6, Furious 7, and The Fate of the Furious. There's a lot of appearances for the actor, who has some other interesting careers besides acting, including rapping and creating his own brand of alcohol. Near the end of The Fate of the Furious, when the gang is having their barbecue, a bottle of Conjure Cognac can be seen on a table. If you ask us, that's a pretty cool opportunity to promote your own brand. In recent years, Dwayne Johnson has taken on some pretty major characters in movies. Aside from playing Luke Hobbs, Johnson has starred in Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, Moana, and Baywatch, just to name a few. But one of the most iconic characters he's played is the Greek demigod Hercules. This role is referenced in The Fate of the Furious. During the prison scene with Hobbs and Shaw, the two characters exchange some harsh words, which lead Shaw to jokingly call Hobbs Hercules. Regardless of Johnson actually starring as Hercules, comparing the big man to a Greek god is pretty much right on the nose. Paul Walker has starred in a few movies that feature luxury cars. One example is the movie Takers alongside Chris Brown, Hayden Christensen, and Idris Elba. In the film, Walker drives a Porsche 356A Speedster, but the car also slipped its way into Furious 7. The car can be seen in Brian O'Connor's garage when his wife Mia walks in to check on him. It's a very hard to spot Easter egg if fans don't remember the 2010 film, but the Porsche in Furious 7 is undeniably the same vehicle. The Ripsaw is quite obviously a giant tank, but many fans may not know the significance behind the vehicle. The Ripsaw tank is massive, armored, and remotely controlled by Tej Parker, but the Ripsaw makes an appearance in another film operated by a different Fast and Furious alum. The same Ripsaw is driven by Dwayne Johnson in G.I. Joe Retaliation when he played the character Roadblock. Fans of Johnson's acting career probably loved seeing the tank on the big screen in another of the actor's films. Many characters have had recurring roles in the Fast and the Furious series, but some characters have been inexplicably absent since their first appearance. One such character is Hector. Played by Noel G., Hector appeared in the first Fast and Furious movie and helped organize the initial race between Brian and Dominic. But 14 years later, in Furious 7, Hector finally made his return. He shows up when Dominic takes Letty to Race Wars. It's a very small role, and with the years that passed between his appearance in the first and seventh films, we're sure a lot of fans didn't even recognize the character. While everything else on this list is about moments hidden in the Fast films, there's actually a hidden bonus feature that appears on the 2009 DVD release of Fast and Furious. The release has an extra disc for bonus features, but one of the features may have gone unnoticed by a lot of fans. When you highlight the bonus feature south of the border, filming in Mexico, you can press the right button on your remote followed by the down button, and an icon of a broken camera will pop up on the screen. This icon leads to a secret video dedicated to all of the poor cameras that were broken in the process of making the film. How many of these references did you miss in the Fast films? And have you spotted anything else that you want to share? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe to Screen Rant for more.